Thank you for joining Money Simplified, your guide to money and mutual funds, presented by Franklin Templeton Mutual Fund. We appreciate your participation. At PersonalFN, we are committed to help investors achieve their financial goals and objectives. Our core proposition is built on unbiased research and financial planning. We wish to thank Franklin Templeton Mutual Fund for partnering with us in this investor education and awareness initiative. Welcome to session 25 of Money Simplified, your guide to money and mutual funds. We are glad to have you with us for the 25th session on Life Goal 2, Planning for Child's Education and Marriage. As a parent, you want to give your child the best of everything, be it the child's education, lifestyle, and even a grand marriage. But as you may be aware, the cost of everything is going up. So are you saving enough and planning wisely to give your little bundle of joy what you've been dreaming of and what he or she deserves? Well, if not, you better get started right away. This session of Money Simplified brings you a refreshed approach for planning your child's future, be it his or her education and or her marriage needs. So in this session, we are going to handhold you and explain how with effective and prudent planning your dream of providing the best but within your means to your child can indeed come true. So let's get started. Defining goals. Well, the first step in the planning process is defining your financial goals. So while planning for your child's future is a broader objective, you need to define it further as to what you intend to plan for, that is child's education or marriage needs. Let's take the first one, child's education. Here you need to further be clear about which stage of education you want to plan for, graduation or post-graduation. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So as parents, you want to give the best quality education but within your means to the child. Today's generation, as you may already be aware, is smart. Their inquisitive acumen makes them fast learners. There is a spirit of competitiveness amongst today's children and vigor to achieve the pinnacle of success, whether in studies or at the workplace. But to follow one's dream and to make it into a career can be a very costly affair, and as parents, you need to be ready for that. Depending upon the aspirations and acumen of the child, whether to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or a finance professional, you need to plan well. And remember, no matter how old your child is, it is never too early to start planning for a child's education. Likewise, while planning for a child's marriage, you as a parent, in consultation with your child, need to be clear whether the wedding would be simple or will be done with much pomp and style. As a parent, you want your child's wedding to be one of the most memorable occasions filled with fun, happiness, and music. But you need to be within your means while planning your child's wedding, as the costs associated with it should not create a sour memory. You see, there was a time when wedding was only an auspicious day for the holy union of two families, which was done at a decent and a rational cost. But today, weddings have to also become an occasion to display one's social stature and monetary wealth. Some people believe that if they do not spend liberally on their child's wedding, it will become difficult for them to face the society, and in the bargain they drain out most of the financial resources or even take loans, putting their retirement needs at stake. It is noteworthy that some things which are a necessity to a few could also be a luxury to others. It is for you to decide what are your need to have things and what things you can easily avoid. Having a practical approach to all wedding related expenses is necessary, as that will enable you and your family to live stress-free financial life. Again, remember, the earlier you start saving and investing for a child's wedding, the lesser you will need to set aside per month to achieve your objective. The next step in the planning process is to determine the age of the child at the time of occurrence of goal realization. Generally, we have seen investors envisaging the requirement of funds for the child's graduation needs at 18 years of his or her age. Assuming the child will take 3 years to complete his or her graduation, they would want to plan for 2 years post-graduation course at 21 years and finally want their child to get married by 26-27 years. So In this process, you see it is imperative to recognize the number of years remaining until the goal, which is calculated as number of years remaining towards the goal is equal to child's age at goal minus child's current age. So for example, say your child's current age is 5 and you require money for his graduation when his age is 18 years, you have 13 years remaining until the goal. Therefore, the current age of your child and his or her age at the time when that financial goal realizes will define the number of years remaining towards the goal. It will determine whether your child's financial goal is short-term, medium-term, or long-term. Then the next step is to determine the amount required in today's term for the goal. You see, it is imperative to recognize this because on the basis of this, the value you require in the future, that is at the time of the goal, is determined. Over the years, while dealing with clients, we have observed that graduation costs in today's terms are estimated somewhere around 5 to 15 lakh, while post-graduation costs are around 10 to 25 lakh. And in the case of child's marriage needs, either the amount is not thought of precisely or a limit to the same is not stated. But as inflation tends to erode the purchasing power of your money, you will need to consider the present value while estimating the future value, that is at the time when the goal is likely to occur or realize. So future value of your child's education and marriage cost. While planning for child's education needs, an inflation factor of 10 to 15% will be fair to assume, taking into account the pace at which education fees are on the rise. On the other hand, for child's marriage needs, an inflation factor of 8 to 12% per annum would be fair to assume. You see, accounting for inflation factor while calculating the future value of the goal will help you arrive at a more realistic value for meeting your child's future needs. Here is an indicative calculation of the future value of the child's education and marriage. Considering inflation on education at the rate of 10% and 8% for marriage, in 13 years' time, the cost of graduation would increase from rupees 5 lakh to rupees 17 lakh, and post-graduation cost of rupees 10 lakh would increase to around rupees 46 lakh in 16 years' time. Similarly, over 20 years, rupees 20 lakh budgeted for child's marriage would be inflated to rupees 93 lakh if inflation on marriage is assumed at 8%. Then you also need to prioritize your goals into low, medium, high, and very high. We understand that all financial goals pertaining to your child's future needs are extremely important. But in the journey and the process of achieving, you need to prioritize your financial goals because for all practical reasons, they may not be achieved at one time, nor would the occurrence of the same be at one time. Therefore, you need to decide which goal is most important for you and for which goal you can compromise on with the respective time and the amount. Hence, in order to do this, you need to categorize all the goals pertaining to your child's future needs into low, medium, high, and very high categories. This will help streamline your finances and prudently plan for your child's future. After having recognized your priorities for the goal, you need to allocate your investments or assets towards each goal. Do not forget to have the right asset allocation while you invest. You see, any fresh investments you make towards your child's future needs, be it education or marriage, require to have prudent asset allocation. Depending upon the time frame for your child's future needs, you can decide the kind of asset allocation you should maintain by referring to this table. In this table, you can see that if you have a longer time horizon for your child's future, the higher will be the allocation towards equity. But when the time horizon is less or you are just few years away, about 3 years, when you require the money for the goal, your allocation should be skewed towards debt. Therefore, to reap the benefits of a longer time horizon, which facilitates you to invest in equities, start planning for child's future needs now to earn a bigger pie for his or her financial goals. You should also allocate your existing assets towards the goal. Being in the earning and the asset accumulation phase, you as a parent might have accumulated some assets over the years. Now these need to be mapped towards your child's future goals, be it his or her education and or marriage needs. So remember, the major portion of your debt investments such as debt mutual funds, bank fixed deposits, etc. can be mapped towards a near-term goal like child's graduation, provided you are few years away, about 3 years, when you require the money for the goal. A major portion of your equity investments such as equity mutual funds and equity shares can be mapped towards goals which are farther away, such as your child's post-graduation needs and marriage needs, where the time horizon for realization is over 3 years. You can simultaneously maintain some allocation toward debt mutual funds and gold ETFs. You can also keep aside existing investment in physical gold and gold mutual funds for your child's marriage needs specifically. If you have a higher time horizon and as you need to keep pace with inflation, based on your risk appetite, you can invest a major portion of your assets in equity through equity mutual funds. Once you have decided the asset allocation, you need to know how much amount you need to invest. An investment can either be made on one time in lump sum or monthly or yearly. You see, calculating the required investment will give you an idea of whether all your child's goals are within your reach or you need to make an extra effort to achieve the goals. You see, we have in the past sessions told you about the various categories of mutual funds that have specific investment objectives and are designed to cater to various investment needs and hold different levels of risk-reward relationship. Once you are aware about the amount to be invested towards achieving your respective goals and the kind of asset allocation you need to judge your risk appetite and consider your investment time horizon before investing in mutual funds. Longer your time horizon, higher the risk you can take. Based on your risk appetite and investment time horizon, you can decide the kind of mutual fund scheme suitable for you, where you can invest and get started towards achieving your child's future goals. You can choose the scheme category on the level of risk you can take. You need to decide if you want to create a risky or a risk-averse portfolio. Points to remember before we end our learning session today. Define your child's goal carefully. Determine the child's age at which you want to plan for the respective goals such as graduation, post-graduation and marriage. Determine the amount required for the goal and be rational. Do not overestimate or underestimate as it may derail your plans. Consider the inflation rate as it will push up the cost of your goal in the future. Determine the asset allocation required for each portfolio as it will make your portfolio healthy and help it sustain volatility seen in any of the asset class. Calculate the investment amount required to achieve the goal. You need to get this right as this is the kind of seed capital which would grow towards achieving your future goals. Start investing in suitable investment options like mutual funds to reap the benefits as they cater to various investing needs. So to end our learning exercise today, we now invite you to test your learning by taking up this simple quiz and win exciting prizes. Thank you for participating. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.